thank you for your attendance today, and it's such short notice. Look, can I say from the outset there are no known coronavirus cases in Wagga. However, from all reports, it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when the first case will be detected. From our advice from both the federal and state government, their advice is to continue with mass gatherings of people. However, that could change at any time. So, however, we had a briefing this morning from local health officials. I've also spoken to other senior medical people here in this city, and they are concerned that large numbers of people from outside Wagga who gather here create a greater risk of a mass outbreak of coronavirus. And this city can cope. We can cope with a steady number of corona cases. We're set up to do that, but we're not set up, but our resources will be greatly impacted if there is a major outbreak, which will have a flow-on effect throughout the community. So taking all that into account, we've made a very, very difficult decision this morning to not hold all mass gatherings where people come from outside the region. Unfortunately, that means we've had to make the difficult decision, along with organisers, to not hold a number of events. And this includes the Mardi Gras, the Food and Wine Festival in a couple of weeks. We're also looking at the Raiders game in April and possibly having the match in Wagga but without spectators. The organisers of a number of other events in this city are also looking at their options. Look, we know this will have a major economic impact on the city, but the safety of the community must take precedence. I'll call on the member for Wagga, Dr. Joe McGurr, to add to those comments.
Thank you, Greg, and I'd acknowledge the General Manager Peter Thompson and Holly Conroy here, who's organiser of the Mardi Gras Festival. Can I just say that this morning we met with local clinician experts and senior management from the local health district, along with council. It's pretty clear from the health professionals' point of view that there's a high level of concern that we control the rate of spread of the coronavirus. It's important that we have a slow spread and that we prevent it where possible, so that when people are affected by it, they can get the best care possible. And I do support the council in its decision that we not hold mass gatherings which involve people coming from outside the region. I'm deeply disappointed. Clearly that will have an economic impact. It's deeply disappointing for the organisers of events, but I think, as the Mayor has said, we do need to take the steps necessary to protect the health and well-being of the community, and in that light I do support the Council's decision in this regard.
Can I say that Holly on my left is absolutely devastated by this decision, and I'd like to call on her to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Conkey. So I would like to start by saying that I hold the safety of the public at the utmost importance, and having a risk that this could become an epidemic here in Wagga, led me to go along with council's and medical advice and cancel the event. I'm greatly I'm greatly disappointed that we've had to do this. There's been so much work that's gone into making this event happen from our very first one last year. But I assure you that we will be back next year. I did want to take the time to thank the sponsors that have come on board to get us this far with the event. And I'd like to start by saying a thank you to Wagga City Council for giving the support and grant backing to hold the event. I'd also like to thank Embarketing Web and Graphic Design, who are my organising sponsors for the event, and I couldn't do it without them. Our gold sponsors, CSU and Cuba, have been absolutely outstanding with support with promotions and things like that. And then we've got ANZ, Phoenix Accounting, Wagga Marketplace, Katrina Riley Curtains and Blinds, Barambula Wines, Epica Jewelers, Acon, Sturtmore, Muffin Break, Woolworths Group, LPL Studio, Boost Juice, Southern Cross Stereo, Kennard's Hire, Essential Energy, Suez, The Streaming Guys, Adam Drummond, Hertz Car and Truck Rental, and Do Re Mi. without businesses like this, we wouldn't be able to put events on, and hopefully these businesses will be back on board next year. But like I said, I take the safety and health of the citizens in Wagga extremely serious, and that led me to go along with council. That being said, we still have an amazing event on tonight, and I do encourage people to come down and help us make tonight our Wagga Mardi Gras. So, thank you for everyone's support, and let's hope next year's bigger and better.
Thanks, Holly. As you can see, it has a major impact on this city and will for several months to come. So, are there any? We'll open up to questions.
Greg, as far as actually, the party was obviously set for Victory Memorial Gardens. Is there any way to actually stop people from parading anyway or going out anyway? I know a lot of people are already in the city. Is it going to be policed, or if they do decide to gather, is that a possibility?
Look, they're public spaces. Anybody can gather in a public space. We're not banning people from visiting public spaces, so we cannot ban anybody from turning up in a public space.
Does that change anything for you, Holly? Would you still be encouraging people to go to the pubs and clubs in the main street even just for dinner, or to boost the economy that way?
Oh, look, most definitely go down and have dinner. One thing that I would say is if you are feeling unwell, then don't risk it. If you feel like you've got a runny nose or a cough or even a tickle in your throat, I would suggest that you stay home. But look, if you've travelled all this way and you feel fine, then I don't want to discourage people from getting on with their life. I think it's really important that we still be sensible about this. While we are taking all the precautions necessary, that doesn't mean we need to lock ourselves inside. So use your common sense. If you're feeling sick, stay home. And if you're not, and go out and enjoy. The parade definitely won't be going ahead. We're taking that seriously. But look, if people want to make the most out of their visit to town, I certainly encourage that. But just be smart about it and be safe, and don't put the public at risk.
That's it.
I think, Holly, you'll have a future in public health. Media relations with that. Thank you very much.
Yes.
There was no capacity for this to be rescheduled in some format. This is just going to be canned and running in the same public schedule.
Look, we run over the possibilities of rescheduling it. The problem is we don't know how long this is going to last for, and to give a reschedule date, I think would be almost impossible. And also, being that it is such a big event to organise and quite a lot goes into it, having it in, say, 6 months' time would leave no time to organise the next one after that. So, look, at this stage, the course of action will be just to postpone it until next year. And then hopefully, we can get back on and support it next year in a bigger way and really make up for missing out this year.
And Greg, you spoke about the economic impact of the city, not just with the Mardi Gras, but with Food and Wine Festival, Canberra Raiders. These are big money makers, hotels, businesses, everything. What sort of impact? Can you give me an approximate dollar figure? What do you think is going to happen here?
Certainly millions of dollars. The Mardi Gras, Holly was expecting 10 to 20,000 people or more.
More.
So look, that's huge for this city, and to make this decision hasn't been taken lightly. So, but look, we're looking at millions of dollars. I know that the Gears and Beers, I know that's later on in the year, but last year that generated $1.8 million for this city, and that was just under 5,000 people turned up for that. So that's the sort of money that we're talking about here. So it's significant. Holly hit the nail right on the head when she sort of said the city's still open. If you please come and use our facilities for all the residents. Go to the supermarkets, go to restaurants, go to cafes and places like that. Because but if you have a slight signs of a cold or flu, don't go out in public. So that's our message that Holly very well put. So congratulations. Yeah.
Greg or Joe, do either of you have any advice as to how long this sort of self-imposed, I suppose, ban might go on? Have you got any advice from the health departments at this stage?
Well, I would expect that we're going to be dealing with this for the next 3 to 4 months, so into the middle of the year. Look, I'm not sure that I can be any more prescriptive than that. I do think that means that there will be an end to this, and there will be an opportunity to bounce back. And I think we need to keep that in mind. The federal government has announced a range of measures to stimulate and compensate people, which I think will help. And I think we do need to keep in mind that there will be an opportunity after this to bounce back. And I think that's why it's important that we take the steps now to make sure that we don't have any lasting, limit any possible ill effects from this now, and I think that the measures here are sensible to do that. But beyond that, I'm not sure I can be any more prescriptive than that.
And also just one more question for you, Joe. These are quite major decisions we're making here with cancelling events. It could possibly stir up a bit of panic possibly in the community or anything like that. As you said, we've got no confirmed cases here. What would be your message to people who might be running to the shops and freaking out and going, oh my gosh, like, is it as serious as we're saying, or should we just calm down a little bit and just wait it out?
I certainly think this is not a time to be panicking, but clearly we are facing a significant epidemic of a significant illness, and the experience overseas has been that if you don't take the necessary measures early enough, then it severely impacts, and in fact the impact then is much worse on the economy. And I think many people have spoken about what's happened in Italy, and I think so far the response in Australia has been excellent. I think the government has been very proactive in its messaging and the steps that it's taken in terms of international flights, and I think that's good. And so long as we continue to be proactive, then we can limit the impact of this illness and bounce back effectively at the end. So this isn't a time to be panicking, but I think it is a time for people to be realistic, and I can't emphasise enough the importance of personal hygiene, of people not going to work when they've got symptoms, of people keeping an appropriate distance, just the ordinary public health measures. It's absolutely critical, and together we will get through this, but we have to be realistic. We're facing as you say, it's a pandemic, we're facing an epidemic, and it means that we do have to make some decisions around protecting the community.
Greg, so I suppose some people will be fairly critical given that you just said the cost of the economy, potentially millions of dollars. We don't have any cases here in Wagga. Just again, give us your justification, I suppose, for taking this quite drastic step.
There is a risk, and there is a risk to the community. The more people we have from outside this city coming to the city poses a significant risk, and we need to mitigate that risk, and that's why it is a difficult decision, and we haven't got a great deal of support or guidance from the state and federal governments over this, which is disappointing. It would have been nice if the federal and state governments came on board and made some stronger statements than what they're making. So, but we are doing the right and proper thing. We're doing the responsible thing, I believe, for this city, and we need to protect the residents of this city. Okay,
Joe,
thanks.
I just have one question. Basically, we've sort of heard a lot of stories of people that have perhaps had milder symptoms, and people who are being encouraged to work from home regardless of having symptoms. Do you see or foresee a time where Wagga locals might have to consider social distancing without feeling sick themselves?
I think the advice at the moment is that if you've got the symptoms or you've been in close contact with someone who's got the illness, and certainly if you've come from certain countries overseas, then there's a requirement for self-isolation. I think that's the reasonable approach at this stage. As I say, there are no cases in Wagga yet, and while that remains the case and while we monitor that situation, I think self-isolation should apply in those situations I just described. I think I don't really want to speculate beyond that at this stage. I think we need to keep an eye on it and keep watching the situation. I do think that it's important in terms of the economy and morale that people continue to shop and continue to visit restaurants and support the economy. I think that is very important. This isn't the time to completely shut down at all. But as I say, this decision is about, the council's taken is around mass gatherings that involve people coming from outside the region. And I think that is a good step at this stage to limit the spread of the illness.
Can I just finish by sincerely thanking Holly? It's really had a major impact on her. She's been working hard on this for the last 12 months, and 12 months prior to that with our first Mardi Gras. I was looking forward to walking in the Mardi Gras, and next year, far bigger, better, and an event. So
and I'd like I'd like to back that up and congratulate Holly on her leadership in this respect, which has been outstanding.
Great.